Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody watching this in the future. Today we have a really fun show. I got a bunch of topics to talk about. And today is Wednesday the 3rd. If anybody gets in the chat room, please let me know if I sound okay. I'm like super paranoid that my audio is going to be messed up because it was a few times, but I did restart my computer. All right, so what do we got today? Well, I guess we got three main things to talk about. First, one of the things we're going to talk about is I have a good friend. His YouTube handle is, thank you. Melinda's here. Thank you. I was hoping you'd be here because you were Melinda and me were talking through the comments. And so I was hoping she'd be here because it was just a few minutes ago. Well, thank you. First, one of the segments today is my good friend. His YouTube handle is Welcome to the Show. And he's been a big supporter of me ever since like a year and a half ago, since I've been on Black Lotus. And he sends me all these cool science articles. And so that inspired me to do a segment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up these news articles, okay? And I'm going to read them with you, discuss them with you. But then we're going to try to find the original research paper that the people in the article cite. So I believe this is what the cycle happens. This is what happens. A group of scientists or a scientist publishes some cool research, okay? And then they publish it in the whole world can read it. It's like a very academic paper. And then these news articles like Science Now or BBC News, they have like a science contributor. And that person kind of reads that original article and kind of filters it down. But when it gets filtered, they may miss some of the important details. They may misrepresent the data. So we're going to read some of these articles, and I'm going to try to find the original paper and show you how to do the same thing so you could be your own researcher. I'm going to teach you how to research like a scientist. It's not very hard. It's not very expensive. So that's going to be one segment. I have like 10 different articles that Welcome to the Show sent me. Thank you. Welcome to the show. If you're watching this, I know you are, but probably not live. I think Welcome to the Show is in London time. So it's 2 a.m. right now. So I hope you're sleeping well. Welcome to the show. The other segment I'm going to do, it's going to be a quick update on my plan to trap a Bigfoot. That'll probably be the first thing I talk about. And then the last thing is that a PhD scientist named Hal Puthoff, he actually published a research paper about ultraterrestrials. What is an ultraterrestrial? Well, the ultraterrestrial hypothesis is that perhaps some of these UFOs we see in the sky, some of these strange quote unquote aliens, well, they're not actually from another planet. They're not actually from another time. They're not actually from another dimension. What they actually are actually citizens of Earth. Their Earth is their home. They live on Earth. They're more advanced than we are, and they've potentially been here longer than us. This is a very interesting hypothesis. I'm starting to believe it could be true. Why is it interesting? Well, because sometimes, these UFOs operate in our atmosphere. And so if you're going to work efficiently in our atmosphere, it helps if you are from the atmosphere. If you're from Earth, you could deal with the gravity. You could deal with the oxygen, you could deal with the water, all of the chemical composition of the planet. So it makes sense that some of these aliens could be ultraterrestrials, or they could be inhabitants of Earth. Earth is 2 billion years old. 2 billion. That's a very long time. And so humans have only been around for, I think, one of our earliest ancestor, the fossils we have is Lucy, an early hominid, and her fossil is about 9 million years old, okay? So humans have been around for 9 million years, but the planet is 2 billion years old. As you can see, there's a lot of time there for other things to have developed. So those are the three segments. I'm going to try something new too. I'm going to start talking about my day a little bit. So in the comments, tell me if you like this or if you don't. Because if you don't like this, hey, my feelings won't be hurt. I will just not do this anymore. But I see some other people that I enjoy on YouTube, and they talk a little bit about their day and what they do, and it's interesting. Okay, so today I woke up early. I was felt like really active. And so I went ahead and I sold a bunch of aluminum cans at a recycling center, okay? So when I was in graduate school, I picked up the habit of collecting aluminum cans that were just on the floor. So I lived in a college town, obviously, when I was at graduate school, and people would just drink alcohol and just throw it out in the street. And that's it. So I would collect all these cans, aluminum cans, and I would sell them. So right now, the going rate that I found was 50 cents a pound for aluminum cans, and I got $15. So I had about 30 pounds of aluminum cans. So with that $15, I went to a little town called Alvin, Texas, close to where I live. Alvin, Texas is kind of interesting for ufology because there's a famous, well, maybe not so famous, but there is a UFO sighting and video of a flying saucer in Alvin, Texas. The person who shot it was, oh my God, I just blanked on his name. Oh, Mauricio Ruiz. Mauricio Ruiz. If you look him up, then you could hear about him. And I think you could maybe find his original video. Let me type his name in. Mauricio Ruiz. It's in the chat right now. Okay. Oh, there it is. So it's spelled Mauricio Ruiz and then UFO or flying saucer. So Alvin, Texas is not known for much, but there is a famous UFO video. The video is very interesting. It was shot on a camcorder. The UFO is clear as day. I mean, it's clear. It's not blurry. I want to interview him. He still lives in the Houston area, so I could interview him. So I'm going to reach out to him. He has a YouTube channel. He's Hispanic. I'm Hispanic. I could talk to him in Spanish. I mean, he speaks perfect English, but that's something we have in common. So I went to Alvin, Texas, and I went looking for some video games, and I did find some video games. I'll show you. I found a copy of Transformers, Rise of the Allspark. Now, I got this for $1 because it doesn't really work that well. So I'm going to try to fix it. It had some scratches on it, but I'm going to try to fix it. We have a comment here real fast from a super fan or super supporter of the show, Melinda. Thank you for being here, Melinda. She says, in grad school, we, myself, and others, biology Graduate Student Association started aluminum can collection bins around campus since there was no recycling. Very interesting. That's great. Yeah, I love recycling. When I pick up these cans, I like to feel like I'm Rey from Star Wars The Force Awakens. If you remember Star Wars The Force Awakens, with the main character, Rey, she collected scrap. And that's how she got money or food. And so I feel like I'm Rey from Star Wars. And what is the other thing I was going to say? Oh, the other thing why I like collecting aluminum cans is because there's a famous video game series called Animal Crossing for Nintendo. And in Animal Crossing, there's this mechanic where you could just walk outside and you could just pick up fruits from a tree and just sell it at the store for money. And I always thought that was awesome. I was like, I wish I could just go outside, pick something off the ground and make money. Well, that's what aluminum cans are for me, basically. The other thing I do, here's a little tip. If you're ever walking around and on the street, you see a box of Marlboro cigarettes, pick it up, throw it away. But on the lid of it, there's a little code, okay? So if you collect these codes on their websites, you get a bunch of free stuff. Like I've gotten like sunglasses, lighters, keychains, gift cards. And if you're a member, they'll just send you free stuff. I remember they would just send me stuff. I didn't have to do anything. So there's a little tip. If you don't mind picking up discarded Marlboro cigarette boxes, you can pick them up, sign up, and get some free stuff. The other thing is that, talking about biology graduate student associations, I was actually the president of the Biology Graduate Student Association for 1 year, 1 semester. It was good. We had fun. We did a cleanup of a natural area, the Big Thicket Preserve, which I've talked about. We went there and cleaned up. We did a scholarship for the students so they could go present. I learned a lot of really good leadership skills. It was fun. And I got a scholarship as well. I'm watching all the Star Wars movies with my 10-year-old son, the first time watching them. That's awesome, Melinda. That's great. What a great memory. Which movie are you on right now? And what order are you watching them in? I'm curious. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so speaking of space, the other game I picked up I'm really excited about is Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So Mass Effect is a role-playing space adventure game. It came out like in the 2000s, but what's great about this is that this collects all 3 video games, and they update the graphics so they perform better, they play better. The other cool thing about the games is that you make key decisions in each video game, and those decisions transfer over to the second and third game. So you could really build your character. I waited to play them. I've never played them. So that's good. I get to play them in their best form. So that's a great game. And here we go. Melinda says, that's awesome. You were president of the Biology Association. Yeah, I was nominated and I ran. And then my good buddy, I was his campaign manager after I was president, and I helped him get elected. And then he was president. I taught him everything I know. It was so much fun. It was a fun time. Okay, so Melinda says they're watching the Star Wars movie in chronological order of the timeline. We're on the 1977 movie, which I saw as a 5-year-old in the theaters. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, then I got, what else did I get here? Okay, so then I picked up a copy of The Godfather for Xbox 360. This is based on the movie, and I just heard it's got really good reviews. And then this game, I actually picked it up yesterday. I'm cheating a little bit, but it's a good game. So this is a PlayStation 4 copy of, what is this called? I forgot what it's called. Okay, Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition, and then it's got like a sequel, Icewind. So these are role-playing games, like fantasy games, like Dungeons and Dragons. They originally came out for the PC. They're supposed to be some of the best games ever made, and they're supposed to have really good writing, like really good writing. The other thing is I'm showing you these games because I might start playing video games, like doing a live stream on the show. I have all the equipment to set it up so you can watch me play. But I am going to try to do science-based games and talk about them. Oh, and then the last game I got this as a brand new copy. It's brand new, and it's called SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it's the rehydrated edition. So once again, this game came out originally like in the 2000s. They went ahead and got the same gameplay, but they redid all the graphics and they just made it a better play experience. So those are the games that I did today. So I sold aluminum cans, I got some video games, and I worked on the show. So that's my day. Let me know if any of that was interesting, or if you prefer I don't talk about my day. My feelings won't be hurt. I think you have to actually try really hard to hurt my feelings. Because if you just try to hurt my feelings, it still won't work. I'll usually just take it in stride. So what I'm saying is don't worry. If you don't like it, don't worry. Okay, so Melinda says, I think it's a great addition to your show, telling us about your day. It personalizes your show. We're getting to know you as well as whatever you're talking about, video games, etc. Great. Okay, well, thank you. So we got 1 vote up. Yes, thank you. We're very democratic here. What else was I going to say? Yeah, like I said, if I talk about my day, like I just did now, I'm going to try to talk about science, try to talk about interest in UFO things. Like I talked about Austin, the UFO thing. I talked about Star Wars, recycling. If you didn't know that, I mean, you could recycle cans. You could just find cans in the street if you don't mind. If you don't mind getting your hands dirty, literally, and you can sell them and you can help the environment and make a little bit of money. And yeah, get those Marble cigarette boxes. Why not? That's what I do. I think right now I have like 3,500 points. You get about like 100 points per box. So what's really funny is they must think that I'm smoking a lot, but I actually don't smoke at all. I'm not a smoker, but I have a lot of points. All right, let's go into the Bigfoot news. Okay. First of all, I got some new subscribers, and I think these subscribers came from my Bigfoot video. Okay, so hello, everybody here. Thank you for subscribing. If you came here because of my Bigfoot video. So what I did is I advertised my Bigfoot episode in a bunch of groups on Facebook. A lot of Bigfoot groups, a lot of UFO paranormal groups. And I got to say, I got a tremendous response. I got so many comments. I'm responding to comments like nonstop on Facebook. A lot of people are chiming in with their opinion. They're mostly all friendly. one of the things I asked is Bigfoot better off remaining hidden, or would it benefit from science? And the majority of people, they seem to say no, just leave Bigfoot be. Don't. It's going to cause more harm. And I respect that, and I agree with it to an extent. But I was talking to my friend who's a doctor, a medical doctor, and he told me that he thinks that nothing can hide from the scientific method. Eventually, the truth will come out. Of course, it's a matter of time. How long will it take? It could be 100 years. It's been about 70 years since the Air Force was founded. But 70 years in the scope of humanity is a very short time. I mean, there's still people alive that are 70 years old. So what I'm saying is, I think eventually science will show that Bigfoot is real. So I think it's good to just think about it now, preemptively think about how can we handle the disclosure or the discovery that something like Bigfoot is real. How will it affect society? Will people, a lot of us were thinking that people will probably start wanting to hunt him, so there'll be an increased pressure, an ecological stress will be put on Bigfoot because more people will know about Bigfoot. If it's known that Bigfoot's real, then more people are going to be like, wow, Bigfoot's real. They're going to want to get their guns and they're going to want to go hunt him. And that's definitely going to put some pressure on Bigfoot. So that's a consideration. Okay, so then the other thing that happened was, if you remember, my plan dealt with getting a body from Bigfoot, or let's say getting evidence of Bigfoot through Bigfoot giving it to us. And why would Bigfoot give us something like a body? Well, it's because we would be trading. What would we be trading with Bigfoot? Well, we would be trading food like peanut butter and apples and cakes and stuff, pies, because it has been shown that Bigfoot will accept gifts. It's been shown, people have reported, that if you leave something in an area where Bigfoot habituates or travels or lives, that you leave it there, you go away, Bigfoot will take it, and then eventually he might leave something, or he might interact with the things there. Okay, so that's a recap. Well, what's really interesting is that somebody started messaging me. Oh, here we go. Wait, real fast. This is my cat Nebula saying hello. I love Nebula. Nebula loves me. She's got blue eyes, and she's very sweet. Okay. She always waits for me. She worries about me. She waits for me on my walks. My two best friends are this cat and a great blue heron. There's a water bird called a great blue heron. When I go for walks, this giant waterfowl follows me around, and these are my best friends. I don't think they'd ever hurt me emotionally or financially or physically. I think they really care for me. But anyway, I mean, that has to do with what we're talking about, being friends with Bigfoot. Okay, anyway, one of the people in these groups commented to me. So let me just read you the comment thread, okay? So I saved it here. This is really fascinating. Okay. Where do I start? Okay. So I just advertised my show on this Facebook group, and I was just like, hey guys, I'm a wildlife biologist. Please check out this video. It's a plan for how to get a Bigfoot body. I don't plan on killing a Bigfoot because I think it's unethical. I would love to hear your feedback. Do you think this is a good thing? Or do you think it's a bad thing? Okay. So this individual in one of the groups, they responded in all capital letters. They just responded, dumb, D-U-M-B, dumb. I was like, once again, it's really hard to hurt my feelings. So what I replied was, ha, ha, ha. Thanks for your feedback. Have a wonderful week. See, I'm very nice to people. And then I told them I would be honored to have you as a subscriber. Okay. And then they said, okay, then they replied, okay. This is the other person. They said, okay, I gift them all the time for the last 8 years. They have 8 years of experience gifting Bigfoots. Every day this year, I've gone through 140 jars of peanut butter. I don't think what you want will work, as they are not a flesh and blood animal hiding in the woods. Interesting. My mind was like, bah, 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 like Pop Rocks. Okay, so then I replied, my plan involves gifting them. Do you have any tips on successfully starting gifting? Have you received anything in return? Okay, and then they said, They replied, yes, a lot of things. Sticks, deer skulls, the skull of a deer. They said, I started with apples, then I went to peanut butter. I put little wooden blocks out, which they move all the time, also dice. I used to try and put an eraser board out and draw a stick man and my name. Don't do that, as when I did, all my activity stopped. Or don't put out stuffed animals. Don't put out trail cameras and don't talk to them. That's a lot of information. They go more into detail, but it's very fascinating. Okay, so this is what they said. They started off giving apples. So they said, hey, give him apples, no problem. They said, put out wooden blocks of toys, like wooden blocks or dice for them to play with. That's fine. This person was very creative. They tried to put out a board, a dry erase board, and draw them. So they tried to do communication, like I said. They said that didn't work. They did not like this at all. They stopped. So he's like, don't do that. Also, don't put up stuffed animals, and I'll explain more why you shouldn't put up stuffed animals. Don't put out a trail camera, and most disappointingly, don't try to talk to them. Don't try to communicate with them. Very interesting. This person has 8 years of experience. Okay. So then I replied, so they don't like stuffed animals and they don't like being communicated with? ? They said, this is where it's very interesting. This is some crazy animal behavior stuff. They said, they don't like anything with eyes. With eyes. That's why the doll was there. Okay, so the dolls have eyes. They don't like anything with eyes. That's fascinating. They don't like, it makes sense, but it's fascinating. They don't like anything with eyes. They don't like being looked at. I've heard that this could be just anecdotal. There could be no science, but I've heard that in places like India, where wild tigers are a problem, tigers will often attack you from the back because they want to remain hidden. They don't like for you to see them. So some people will put like a mask on the back of their head with fake eyes. And then that way, the tiger won't attack them. I mean, there are some caterpillars that have fake eyes, like markings that look like eyes on their butts, basically on the rear portion of their body, so they won't be eaten. There's some moths, that have feathers. I mean, not feathers. Some moths that have wings that look like eyes. And I've also read that if a shark, if you're in the water and you're swimming, a shark won't attack you if you're looking at it head on. So this makes sense. The eye thing, so interesting. Okay. So they don't like anything with eyes. This person says, I've been doing this for about 8 years. They've been in my yard. They hit my house, left fingerprints, moved things around in my yard, and have said my name. That's so interesting. I've seen them 9 times, close with my wife. Grandkids, daughter, neighbors have seen them. There's a lot of data here. This is very data rich. Okay, so this individual has not 8 years of experience. In those 8 years, they've only seen it 9 times physically. So that means on average, if you start a relationship with one, you'll only see them a little bit over 1 time, 1.1 times a year. That's very fascinating. They've hit the house. I assume they threw something at the house. I've heard about that. They've left fingerprints. Fingerprints are good. Fingerprints are very good. They've moved things around the yard. And they've said this person's name. They vocalized. I've heard about this. So fascinating. Okay, so then I replied, this is also fascinating to me. Thanks for sharing. I sent you a friend request. I hope that's okay. Then they said, I just invited you to my page called Randy's Bigfoot Research, if you would like. And then they said that I asked them, they wanted me to talk on the phone right then and there, but I was not ready. I asked them to be on a podcast. So I'm going to continue talking with them to see if I can get them in the podcast. I'm going to put the link after this episode. I'll put the link to their Facebook group. They have a lot of pictures there. I'm going to share some pictures right now. But if you can't wait for that Facebook group, you can just look for Randy's, RANDYS, Randy's Bigfoot Research. That's their group. Super fascinating. So much information in there. Oh, and then I think they told me where they live. She says they live north of Black Duck, MN. Is MN? I'm sorry, I do not know my state abbreviations. Is MN Montana or Minnesota? I don't know. You guys tell me. But they live. This person lives north of Black Duck. MN. Okay, we got some comments to catch up on, and then I'll show you some pictures that this Randy person showed me. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so here's Melinda. Okay. Melinda says, do we know enough about Bigfoot's social structure to accurately predict if a dead one would be traded solitarily and don't know where dead ones are located, or complex social structure and won't give one up? Solitary. So they might be solitary and they might, okay, so the concerns with Melissa has are that, yeah, we really don't know. I've heard they have a family structure. I am assuming they buried their dead, because why don't we find the bodies? But I don't know. Also, I remember I saw a presentation in graduate school where some early hominids who might have been humans, they were just stuffing dead bodies, like corpses, into a big cave. There was like a big pit. So that's anecdotal evidence. That's not directly related to Bigfoot, but some early hominids did have burial pits and caves. We don't know if they live alone. We don't know if they're willing to trade. You're right. We don't know their social structure. And we don't know if they know where the dead bodies is. These are all great points. So these are assumptions that I'm making. But if you look at those comments, there's other things that were left behind, like like fingerprints. I'm thinking I'll start off with some DNA, and I may not directly ask for DNA. So here's a little trick I used to do when I was animal trapping. So I was an animal trapper for a year. So sometimes someone would have an animal crawling in their house, and I would want to trap them. I can't believe it's already been half an hour. I have so much to talk about. Okay, so I would want to know, okay, well, there's different animals that go in people's houses. There's squirrels, there's possums, there's raccoons, et cetera, et cetera. So I would want to know what kind of animal it was. So what I would do is I would locate the hole where the animal would climb into the house. And then what I would do is just get a bunch of tape and put the tape around the hole where the animal would go in. And then what would happen, it would be like duct tape. What would happen is the hair would stick to the duct tape. And I could just visually look at the hair and I know what kind of animal. I was like, oh, that's a possum, that's a raccoon, whatever. And that would help me with my trapping method. So, let's just say a body is maybe too intense. What if I leave something sticky out for them to play with, like a sticky block or something, and they leave some of their hair behind? They don't mind leaving their fingerprints. We know they don't mind leaving their footprints. But those are great points, Melinda. You're great points. Thank you for keeping me in my lane. You're right. I'll put it right again. These are all assumptions I'm making. As a scientist, let's call them hypotheses. A hypothesis is a statement that a scientist makes. It's a statement that can be tested, but has not yet been tested. So a hypothesis would be okay, so a hypothesis is, I believe Bigfoot buries their dead. That's a statement that could be tested. That's pretty complex. So let's change it a little bit, because Bigfoot is like a mythical creature. So let's say I hypothesize that bears prefer maple syrup to honey. That's a hypothesis. It's just a statement that I'm making. I don't know if it's true. I haven't tested it, but I can test it. I can design an experiment where I could put out some honey and some maple syrup, and I could see if a bear would like one or the other. So I'm making a hypothesis that Bigfoot would trade a body. And I'm also making a hypothesis that Bigfoot buries their dead. And I'm making a hypothesis that Bigfoot knows where the dead are. Those are a lot of hypotheses. So Melinda, thank you. You're right. I don't know any of this for a fact. None of this is tested. And perhaps, I need to scale it down. Sometimes, we start off with a huge experiment and then we're like, let's start small. So perhaps I could get some hair or some fingerprints. Okay, so then Melinda continues. Melinda has heard about the tigers and the masks with the eyes in the back. She's referring to this idea that a lot of animals like sharks and tigers, they don't like it when you look at them. They don't like the eyes. It scares them. And this person has said that Bigfoot does not like any eyes. So if you draw a stick figure with eyes, they don't like it. If you give them a doll, they don't like it because it has eyes in it. Very fascinating. Iowax. Thank you for being here, Iowax. Iowax has been at every episode of Science of the Strange. Please subscribe to Iowax's channel. He's a musician and a poet. He says, I'm vanilla pale, like the bricks in my cell of nonfiction. Very cool. Very cool statement. I like it. I like it. Vanilla pale, like the bricks in my cell of nonfiction. I love it. That's like a haiku. I'm not sure if it's haiku because I haven't counted all the syllables or whatever, but it's like a one-sentence poem. Thank you for being here, Iowax, and thank you for contributing. Okay, then we have Melinda says, with a lot of eye animals, contact is confrontational. Maybe why Bigfoot doesn't like the eye thing. On the other hand, we humans like things with big eyes, like babies, kittens, and puppies. Great comment. Also, going back to Science of the Strange, in my episode where I reviewed the movie Nope, Nope is a movie about UFOs. Here's a spoiler about the movie. In the movie Nope, which is in theaters now, you should watch it. It's a great horror movie, but it's very scary. There's a lot of blood. But it's about a UFO. The UFO, here's a spoiler, it turns out to be a living animal, just one large organism, and it's a predator. And one of the characters finds out that it doesn't like it when you look at it. And so he learns not to look at it directly. It benefits him. Okay. And then we have some more. Okay, so Melinda clarifies that MN refers to the state of Minnesota. So this person is in Minnesota. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I think Bigfoot is in every state in the United States. So, okay, Iowax say they are awake in every layer of reality, ultraterrestrials. Yeah, we're going to talk about ultraterrestrials. But yeah, you're right. If Bigfoot is just a flesh and blood animal, they would be ultraterrestrials. That is the definition of ultraterrestrial. An organism that is from Earth but has remained hidden or is very advanced. I believe that's the definition of ultraterrestrial. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's a common explanation. And Iowax says they are awake in every layer of reality. Very true. I suspect these Bigfoot have extras, like really good hearing, really good sight, really good smell, really good taste. They could probably produce infrasound, a frequency of sound that scares humans or animals. They're very muscular. They could probably feel things better than us. Their sense of touch is better. Just like a lot of animals, okay? Iowax says, I want to make a UFO like Stranger Things, a sensory deprivation tank with certain tech inside. Very cool. I'm sure there's some directions for making a sensory deprivation tank. I want to try too. There's a place here in Houston, if you live in a larger city, where you could pay a little money and you could go in a sensory deprivation tank for a little bit. If you guys don't know, a sensory deprivation tank is what it sounds like. It's basically a tank that you lie in, and it's got water, which is a salt water. It's very, very salty, so you float. If water has a lot of salt in it, you actually won't sink. You'll float because of the chemical properties. The water is also at a temperature that is the same as your body temperature. And also there's no sound in there and no light. So you're deprived of senses. You don't smell anything, you don't see anything, you don't feel anything, you don't hear anything. And it's supposed to induce hallucinations, if I understand it correctly. But Iowax wants to build his own tank, which, hey, go for it. I know that salt, I know it might be a little expensive. All that salt is very expensive. The amount of salt you have to buy to put in the water is expensive, and you're going to need like a filter system, but good idea. Melinda says, complex social structure would indicate more time investment in others in the group, and therefore would have greater value, hence less likely to give up dead one, if this makes it more clear. Okay. There are a lot of reports that Bigfoot parents are with their children. So there does seem to be a family structure. There does seem to be like. But I'm wondering, what about the reward? Like, what if I give them a lot of food? A lot of non-perishable food, maybe like a bunch of beef jerky, a bunch of Twinkies. I'm wondering, the amounts that I'm giving them, like an astronomical amount. Like, I want to blow their minds with how much food I give them. But once again, these are all good considerations that Melinda is giving. But like I said, I'm thinking I need to scale it back. Just try to make contact. Try to play games with them. Try to get some fur by using some sticky tape. And start small. Okay, great. Melinda has subscribed to IO Walks. Fantastic. I'm so glad we're making a little community here. Thank you so much. You're going to enjoy the music. It's very good. Would you give up a loved one for a bunch of beef jerky? Okay, Melinda, I would not. But if you remember, there have been instances, they're extreme instances, where humans have eaten loved ones. Okay. So let's just talk about the Dahmer Party. Dahmer Party is a tragic story about early frontier people that were trying to go to California, to the West Coast, through with a wagon. They were given misinformation, and they got stuck in the wilderness, and they were starving to death. And they resorted to cannibalism. Now, I don't think Bigfoot's a cannibal, but I'm saying I wouldn't give up a loved one for beef jerky because I'm well fed and because I'm happy and I don't need food. But, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let me know if that's a bad argument. I'm just saying Bigfoot is different. Who knows? What if Bigfoot is suffering from food, a food shortage, I agree with you. If Bigfoot is not, if he's well fed, everything's going great, their children have food, it has food, it has a stable future. Yeah, I don't think it would give up a dead body. But what if it is hungry? I mean, the ecosystem of forests are burning down. There's invasive insects. I mean, unfortunately, we're seeing a biodiversity dip. So perhaps Bigfoot is suffering financially, food-wise. I will also say that sometimes humans donate their body to science. But let me know if these are good arguments or not. But hey, once again, thank you for this. I am used to getting feedback. When I was in graduate school, Melinda, tell me if you're the same way. But to me, when I was in graduate school, it was like I was in boot camp. I mean, I there's nothing wrong with it. I understand why it happened. But all the professors would give me a hard time, just like a drill instructor would give you a hard time. They would question everything I said. They would push me to my limits. I don't think they were being jerks. I think they were doing it to make me a better scientist because I was in training. I was in graduate school. That is to say, I don't mind feedback. It doesn't affect me negatively. I appreciate it. So nobody be worried about that. We have someone new who I hadn't seen. Aaron Morrison. Hey, Aaron Morrison. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being here. Everybody say hello to Aaron. Feel free to ask any questions, Aaron. We have a really fun group of people here. Okay, so Melinda says, cannibalism is an act of desperation. And if Bigfoot is ultra-terrestrial, so less likely to be desperate for food. You're right. They would have to be desperate for food, and I'm not sure if it's less likely. I would have to look into see, okay, for instance, here's a good way of testing this hypothesis, the desperate for food hypothesis. I could look in the big thicket or whatever area of the forest. Let's just call it the big thicket, because that's what's closest to me. That's where it has Bigfoot reports. I could look at the research that's being done in the big thickets to see if the large animals like coyotes, how are they doing? Are they doing badly? Are they suffering? Are they skinny? Are they not having as many pups? If those large predators are suffering, it's possible that the Bigfoot in the same area are also suffering and thus more likely to be desperate. But that's a good point. And Melinda says graduate school was hardcore. Yeah, very hardcore, but it was so much fun. Some of the best times of my life. Okay, so now I'm going to show some photographs. Well, wait, I had another comment. Melinda says, okay, so Melinda is talking about Bigfoot. If you're just watching, like Aaron, we're discussing Bigfoot and whether I could communicate with Bigfoot through leaving gifts, which has been done. I'm going to show you pictures of some gifting that's been done. So what we're talking about now is it possible that I could leave Bigfoot a gift like peanut butter or a lot of food and Bigfoot would trade a dead body of a loved one, a body that died of natural causes? So Melinda has some feedback. Melinda says, Melinda's a PhD biologist. She says, in Great Leap Forward, the famine in China in the 1950s, neighbors would exchange their offspring with neighbors and eat each other's children because they were so hungry. But yeah, you're right. That's extreme hunger. Extreme hunger. I had a friend who I had a lot of friends actually who were in the army during the Afghanistan war. And I got to say, man, that war treated the young people horribly. They were treated horribly. Some of my best friends were in that war in Afghanistan. And anyway, one of my friends was in the war, and she talked about the extreme hunger she felt in Afghanistan, and how she never felt hunger like that, and it's heartbreaking. But anyway, hunger is crazy. Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen to show you some photographs this person sent me. Okay, so let's see, share. Sharing my screen. Share screen. Okay, share. Okay, start. Share with audio. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Okay. Okay, now let me add this. Sorry, I'm kind of learning. Okay. I'm sharing my screen. This is what it looks like, but let me show you these photographs real fast. Okay. So if this is going well, you should be seeing some photographs. Okay. So what we're seeing is this person in Minnesota. So what they did is they left out this Rubik's Cube and these two tongue depressor sticks, wooden sticks, and some dice. And so you see they've been organized kind of in an interesting way. So I think this person just kind of scattered them around, but now they're kind of organized. So they're saying Bigfoot did this. Okay. And there's another photograph. How can I show the other one? Okay, here's another one. Okay. Now this person said they left over they said this year alone, they've left over 150 bottles of peanut butter for Bigfoot. They also said that they could tell when it's Bigfoot versus a bear because Bigfoot, I forgot to read this, but a bear will just eat the whole peanut butter jar. It's like a plastic peanut butter. They'll just tear it up, and that's a bear. But Bigfoot will carefully remove the lid, and they'll lick everything completely clean like it's from a dishwasher. And furthermore, what the Bigfoot will do is they will organize the lids like this. So these are organized by color, loosely. But you can see these are just peanut butter jar lids. And you see all the red ones are over here, all the blue ones, yellow, black, and brown. And I'm not sure if that cross was left by Bigfoot, but this individual has a bunch of different pictures, but these are some interesting ones they sent me personally to illustrate their points. Very interesting. Okay, so let's go back. Stop sharing. Whoa. Excuse me. Pardon me. Okay. Those are some photographs. And that concludes our Bigfoot update. But let's see if we have any comments here. Mr. Catfish. Hello, Mr. Catfish. Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're off work. Okay. Melinda, if you subscribe, be aware I make random raps that I make fast and usually delete them. Okay, so Iowax is here. He's a musician, and he likes to make music. And then Melinda says, thanking him. Okay, so yeah, there you go. That concludes our Bigfoot update. Okay, so now let's read this Ultraterrestrial paper. How about we do that? I think I have everything. Well, actually, the Ultraterrestrial paper will take a long time. So let's just read one of the articles. Let's read two articles because that'll be a little faster. And then we'll save the Ultraterrestrial paper for the end. I might go for like an hour and a half. Yeah. Put in a comment, how much longer. It's been 44 minutes. Comment how much longer you think this episode should be. I understand if you have to leave early, but if you were to come back, how much longer would you want this episode to be? I'm going to talk about this Ultraterrestrial research paper and some other research papers, but I love to get that feedback. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again, and let's look at some science articles, and let's learn how to research like a scientist. Okay. So I'm going to share again. We're going to do that again. So hang with me. Okay, go to share screen, entire screen. Okay, share system audio, share. Okay. Oh, we have a comment here. Let me go ahead and hold on a second. How can I do this? Okay. Before we do that, we have a comment. Oops. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm having some problems. Okay. Metal gaming, thank you for being here. Okay. You like metal music and you like gaming? I need to get into metal music, but I love gaming. Thank you for being here. Okay, so anyway, metal gaming, thank you for being here. Says, I think Danish Eski Willerslev, famous DNA researcher, did investigations on several claimed Bigfoot samples, hair, blood, and tissue from all over the world, hunters and random human results equals 0 Bigfoot DNA. Okay, interesting. So let me read that again. Hair, blood, and tissue from all over the world, hunters and random human results. Okay. So I think what you're saying is that after all this research, it was all no Bigfoot DNA. Thank you for sharing this. I'm going to look this research up. So here's what I have to say about this. Okay, once again, I don't look. Okay, not once again. Let me just state this right now. I mainly study insects and invertebrates, like whirligig beetles and moss piglets, also known as tardigrade. I only study animals that have a fanciful name. So I study microscopes. I use microscopes. I study, organisms that don't have any bones. Why am I saying this? I'm saying I don't know a lot about DNA. That's not my specialty. In a lot of ways, I feel like, biologists and scientists are very specialized. Just like here's an example. Like, a dentist is a doctor, but you wouldn't expect a dentist to know about oncology or about cancer. So if you were to see your dentist friend and you were start to ask them all these cancer questions, you're like, you're a doctor. They may not be able to help you, even though they're a doctor of humans. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to talk about DNA right now, but I'm not an expert on DNA. I'm an expert about invertebrate zoology and invertebrate behavior and field biology and using microscopes. So take this with a grain of salt, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. I don't mind admitting that I don't know a lot about a subject. But here's what I think about DNA. It seems that it would be, Melinda, you can help me out with this. It seems like with DNA, when you're doing an analysis of DNA, it seems like the easiest thing to do is to identify the DNA of an animal that already exists. So let's say you get some DNA of a fish, and then you analyze that DNA, and let's say that fish turns out to be a catfish. And let's say we already have a database of catfish DNA. That's very easy. You're like, oh, okay, this DNA is catfish DNA because you already have something to compare it to. But what I'm thinking, I don't know if this is true, that it would be much harder to identify something as a new species if it's brand new DNA. So what I'm saying is, like, what if you have Bigfoot DNA? And what if there is no Bigfoot DNA samples to compare it to? The closest thing you would find is potentially humans or primates. So I'm not saying this is true, but I'm saying perhaps it is hard to identify a Bigfoot by its DNA alone because we don't have any Bigfoot DNA to start with. You know what I mean? And because that DNA may be very similar to an ape or a human, because we're both primates. We're all primates. The other thing is that, look, DNA technology is very finicky. I know this because I've worked with geneticists. It's very finicky. It's very delicate to get DNA. I don't know if that's true. Melinda, please let me know. Anybody, let me know if I'm totally wrong. But thank you, Metal Gaming. I sure appreciate your feedback. I appreciate that comment, and I will look into that. Okay, then we have... Okay, hold on. Okay, Iowax next says, would ultraterrestrials be an entity that would like us but pushed out of reality and is now sentient in the dream realm? All right. this is a good question, but it's also like a poem. So I got to get in my poem mindset. Ayahuasca is, I think, a very creative person, and he comes up with really good questions and a really great way of talking. And so I appreciate it so much. But let me get in the mindset. Okay. Would an extraterrestrial be an entity that was like us? Okay, so let's analyze that. Yes, it's like, I don't know for sure, but yeah, ultraterrestrials could be like us in that they're intelligent. Maybe they look like us. Maybe they look like a squid. That's why I chose a squid as the avatar or the thumbnail. So yeah, maybe they have some similarities with us in the way they think, the way they make tools, or the way they look. Okay, so that part, yes. But they were pushed out of reality. Okay, pushed out of reality. Pushed seems to indicate that they were forced to go into reality. Interesting. Well, there's some hypotheses that say that ultraterrestrials were maybe more numerous. There's more of them in the past, and now there's less of them, and so now they live in the there's smaller numbers of these advanced species, and so they live in the ocean. That is true. And now it's sentient of the dream realm. Okay, now I think I got the full picture of what you're saying. Okay, so to answer you, Ayahuasca, yes, I think an ultraterrestrial, which is an organism that has lived on the Earth longer than us and is as intelligent or more intelligent than us, I think it's possible it could live, or they could live in the ocean, because the ocean is about 80% unexplored. And because humans are separated from the ocean because of the ecological niche. Ecologically, we are built to live on land, not underwater. We can't survive the pressure. We can't survive without the atmosphere and oxygen. So I think they live underwater. I do think it's possible that they were pushed into the ocean because of some disaster or because humans took over the land. And it is possible they are sentient of the dream realm in that they are more aware of the dream realm. These are all really great ideas and they could be possible, but a lot of these are just suggestions. We would have to make hypotheses and test them to find out for sure. But this is definitely great brainstorming. And thank you for that question, Ayahuasca. It's very deep. Melissa says, I'm good, another 75 minutes at least. Okay, all right. Okay, here we go. Metal says, all DNA samples showed only cow, horse, bear hair, not a Bigfoot. Okay. All right. Well, very interesting. Very interesting. All DNA samples showed only cow, horse, and bear hair, not any Bigfoot. Okay. Well, that is fascinating. That is fascinating. Now, something we could do is we could replicate that study, because science requires replication. The two things you need in science are replicability, and you also need falsifiability. So this is one study or several studies, but they were only done by one scientist. So it would be good to try to replicate the study and see if we get the same results. The other thing I would do, if I could get there's another person that said, when I was advertising that Bigfoot show, someone in the comments said they had Bigfoot hair, and I asked them for a strand. The other thing we could do, not only DNA analysis, but we could observe the hair under a scanning electron microscope. So this is a microscope that is magnitudes stronger than a compound microscope or a dissecting microscope. A lot of the electron microscopes, what they actually do is they shoot electrons, subatomic particles, at your sample, and then those tiny particles come back and they form an image. And that's why you could get so detailed. Like, for instance, you could, I took a class in scanning electron microscopy. So you could get like pollen. You could get one pollen grain, okay? So pollen is usually invisible. This is how plants reproduce. It's in the air. So you could get one little piece of pollen, put it in the electron scanning microscope. You're usually looking at a computer screen, and you could zoom in so much that you expand that little invisible grain to the naked eye, invisible grain of pollen. You expand it so much that it looks like a giant ship, like a boat. You could imagine yourself walking on the surface. What I'm saying is, if I got some Bigfoot hair, I wouldn't first do DNA analysis. I would do a scanning electron microscope analysis, because hair does look different when it's magnified. Human hair, animal hair. In my graduate school, where I went to graduate school at Houston State University, there was a student who did analysis of scanning electron microscope of hair, and they wrote a little guide for how to identify hair. But that's very interesting. Thank you for all this feedback, Metal Gaming. Tell me what your favorite game is, Metal Gaming, and what are you playing currently? Okay, then we have Metal Gaming says, hey, how are you? Thank you, guys. Very friendly. We got some more comments from Metal Gaming. Okay. There was also a famous Nazi Bigfoot, but the result was a fraudulent hoax of a stuffed doll. Very funny. A lot of hoaxes, man. There's a lot of hoaxes. Hoaxes are everywhere. One of the samples, one of the samples did show that 2 different bear species were breeding. Oh, they didn't think that, so they got a surprise to discover. That's great. That's really cool, man. I got to say, look, a lot of times when I start a research paper, I'm okay if I don't get the results I'm looking for, because as long as you do good research and you do good methods and you take good records, you will more than likely find some kind of discovery. Maybe it's not what you originally wanted, but you'll find some kind of discovery. And I love discoveries. That's interesting. So I think what you're saying, Metal Gaming, is that a lot of people, this person studied the DNA, but they all turned out to be either cows or bears, but there was nothing interesting there. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, so bears or horses. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder how they got the hair. What I'm trying to say is, I wonder if when the person got the hair, I wonder if what happened was they were like, I found his hair, I think it's Bigfoot, but they had no strong evidence to support it. Maybe they just heard something or they saw a shadow. But yeah, anyway, I would love to get my own Bigfoot hair. But thank you, Metal Gaming. That's really good information. I really appreciate that. Okay, wait, hold on. Let's go back here. Okay, Melinda says, I think you can ID it as a new species based on how different it is from known DNA database, if the database is sufficient. This is what I heard when I was in graduate school. I heard that if any science project, I think this is maybe American only, but it may be international. If you sequence any DNA of any animal, you're required to submit it to a database that is publicly accessible to everybody. So Melinda is saying that she thinks, so the example is this. What if we get some hair of Bigfoot and we do a DNA analysis? It would be a new species. And so she's saying you can identify a new species based on how different it is from the known DNA database. But what if it's incredibly similar to what's already there? What if it's not that different? Here's the other thing. I suspect, this is a hypothesis. I keep saying this word hypothesis, okay? So these are not facts. These are statements that can be tested, but they have not been tested. So I'm not saying this is true. But my hypothesis is that if Bigfoot is real, if Bigfoot is a flesh and blood animal, then what is happening is that they are some of these 9 species that we have discovered that used to live with humans, okay? There used to be 9 species of humans. We think they all died out, but we know that some of them interbred with us, that we were able to breed with them. So we have DNA of Neanderthals, Homo erectus. We have some of that in our blood. So what I'm trying to say is perhaps Bigfoot can interbreed with us. Perhaps we are compatible sexually and we can have children. And if we're that compatible, then perhaps our DNA is very similar. Just some thoughts. And I'm not saying these are facts. I just want the feedback. Okay, a Metal Gamer says it was hair, blood, and tissue that was research collected from claimed Bigfoot hunters. Okay. And then Melinda says, sufficiently full of known species. Okay. She's just elaborating on a different comment. Melinda says, I think I can ID it. Okay. Okay, yeah. I'll just read this again. I think. Yeah. So the statement once again is, I think you can ID a Bigfoot as a new species based on how different it is from known species in the DNA database if the database is sufficiently sized, which I agree with. Very true. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. Great discussion. Okay, I know there's a lag in comments, so I'm going to go ahead and It's fine, Melinda. Don't worry about it. I understand what you're doing. Okay. Let me get to one of the articles at least, and then I'll get to the ultra-terrestrial paper that was just put out. But hey, if you guys have more to say about Bigfoot, I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to respond to every comment that said. That's what this show is about: communication, about spreading ideas. You're never going to get made fun of on this show. You're never going to be judged unless you're a murderer. Anyway, let's look at a research paper, and you could comment about Bigfoot if you want still. Okay, so let me go share my screen again. Okay. Okay, yeah. Let me see. Do this. Full screen. Okay. Welcome to the abyss. Okay, now let me pull up this article. Okay, I think this is where I want to be. Yeah, right here. Okay. Okay, guys, check this out. So the first article I want to show you is this one. Okay. So this is loading. Whoops. I went a little too far. I got ahead of myself. Oh, that's the wrong paper too. Where is this paper at? Let me see. Not this one. Hold on, guys. Oh, I wonder if I lost that paper. Interesting. Huh. Okay, well let me find the paper that I want to show you. Okay. Okay, so look, if you want to do some research, this is the first thing you could do. Go to Google, and I'm going to type in giant squid feeding hunting. Let's say we want to learn about giant squid feeding and hunting. Just type that in. And here's the article I wanted anyway. Okay. So we're starting our research journey. Let me know if this video plays. Can you see this video or is it laggy? So this is a video of a giant squid hunting. Okay. So the name of this article is, okay, first of all, this is where it's found. It's found at sciencealert.com. After the video, I'll put the link in the description. But let me tell you how to do some in-depth research. So this article was published in July 31st, 2022, and it was written by Michelle Starr. So we have this cool video, and then we have the title. First of its kind video shows how giant squid hunt their prey in the ocean. So what I want to do is like, okay, this is an article that was written by a reporter like Michelle Starr, a science contributor, but it's based on a real research paper. So I want to find the original research paper. So what I'm going to do, and I've done this already, so I know it works, is I'm going to look for someone's name. I'm going to look for someone's name and look for where they work. Okay, so here we go. So here it says, that's why a team of researchers led by Nathan Robinson. All right, so here's my first lead, Nathan Robinson. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google Scholar. My research is found on Google Scholar. If you want to go to Google Scholar, just go to scholar.google.com. Okay, so I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to find the original article. So what I'm going to do is type in that person's name, which I believe it was Nathan Robinson. And then I'm going to type in giant squid, okay, to try to find the original research paper. Okay. So as you can see, I already found it already. So here are my results. The first result says, here's a research paper. It's called Studying the Swift, Smart, and Shy, Unobtrusive Camera Platforms for Observing Large Deep-Sea Squid. And if you look, these are the authors of the paper. There's a lot of authors, but the first author is N.J. Robinson. Ding, 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 ding. So what you have here is you have a date when it was published, 2021. And yeah, this is the original article. Now, this one is available, so you could actually get the article. Now, if you're writing a research paper and for college or for your company or for yourself, and you want to do a works cited, what's really cool with Google Scholar is you could just click here, and it automatically has the citation. So you could either do APA style or Chicago style or Harvard style, and you can just copy and paste. This is what I did in college, guys. Okay, so anyway, let's read the original paper. So then I'm going to click here, and here we go. Here's the original research paper. So you could up here, you could get a PDF if you want to. And this is what the original research paper, this is what it looks like when I publish research papers. So what you have, the sections of the paper are the title, which is right here. Then you have the authors underneath it. This kind of summarizes some highlights of the paper. And then we have the abstract. The abstract is a summary of the entire paper. So the abstract lets you know what the whole paper is about. But the paper is then divided into an introduction. All research papers have an introduction. Okay, and then after the introduction, they have a methods. So the methods shows you what they did, all the details. When did we do it? How did we do it? What do we use to do it? And the methods is important because this is you're supposed to be able to replicate the study. So you're supposed to be able to read these methods. It's like a cookbook. You're supposed to be able to do exactly what they did and get the same results. And here's a photograph, look. So this is kind of showing where they studied the squid. So this is known as a figure. So this is figure 1, and it's got a little bit of description. So it tells you what you're looking at and why you're looking at it. It's got some awesome photographs. Look at this giant squid boy. Look at that. It's beautiful. Oh my God. Anyway, so you could even download the high-res images. So this is figure 2. It says image of an unidentified squid, possibly the Latin name of the squid. So yeah, if you remember from my Bigfoot episode, all species have a name that has 2 parts. So this is the species name. It's written in Latin. All species names are written in Latin because it's a dead language. It is not changing. So the idea is that if you name a new species for something in Latin, that language is dead. It will never change. And anybody in the world, no matter if you're Japanese or you're, Venezuelan or Czechoslovakian, I should have picked an easier country to if you're Russian, you could translate this from Latin. And usually these names are descriptive. So if you look at this last part, whoops, hit the wrong button. If you look at this last part of the name, the Sloani, this is the unique name of the species. This first part, that is a genus name. So that's a classification group. So that's a larger group of organisms. But the second part, the species epithet, this is exactly what the species is. Now, this name is usually what is named after a person, or it's usually descriptive. So this may translate in Latin, it may translate into long or red or hairy or cold. It's usually something descriptive about the species, or it's the name of a person. Okay. And then if we go further, we have some more pictures. Look at this. Oh, interesting. Look at that squid boy or girl. Very cool. Okay, I believe we're still in the method section. Look at this. We have some stalking, the approach, striking, grappling, releasing, jetting away. So this is what a giant squid does, okay? So look, we have some e-jelly and a bait bag right here in the top left corner. So first the squid will stalk, then they will approach, then they will strike, then they will grapple, then they will release, and they will jet away. That sounds like a date I had one time. I'm just kidding. Okay, so if you look at this is figure 4, and the description says sequential video stills A through F of a giant squid approaching the e-jelly. Very cool. Okay, let's look at this picture. Look at that. Look at all this cool information. All right. Okay, so then, yeah, the third section is the results section. Okay, so now you've seen the abstract, which is the summary of the research paper. Now you've seen the introduction, which sets up the research paper. Now you've seen the methods, which tells you exactly what they do. Now you see the results. The results, all they do is in a very black and white, just the facts matter, tell you what they discovered. They don't make any conclusions. They don't make any assumptions. This is just what we found. Okay? And then we have the discussion. So the discussion is the last long piece of the paper. In the discussion section, they discuss, like what we've been doing today. They talk about, what does it mean that we found this thing? What does it mean that we discovered how the squid feeds? What are the larger implications? What is the future research we could do? That's what the discussion section. This is where you could go buck wild and crazy. I always have the most fun when I write the discussion. Okay, and there's one more section that's important, is right here. Author contributions. This is kind of like acknowledgments, where you talk about, wait, I think this may be something different. Hold on. No, okay. What I'm trying to talk about is acknowledgments. So all papers have an acknowledgement sections, where this is where you thank anybody that helped you with the paper. You talk about who gave you money. You know, this research is very expensive. It says right here that it was, you got money from a National Science Foundation, and here's a grant number. So you can look up this grant. So if you're American, I got news for you. You paid for this research, okay? The National Science Foundation is a United States organization, government organization that funds scientific research. A scientist has to apply for the money, and they get it. I paid for this research. If you pay taxes and you're an American, guess what? You own part of this research. So go ahead and read it. Another interesting thing right here was declaration of competing interests. That's very interesting. I haven't seen this very often. But this is basically like, let's say you're writing a paper about like the effects of cigarette use on your lungs. Well, you would want to put here if you work for a tobacco company, because that would be a competing interest. Okay. Oh, and then at the end, there's always an appendix, which has supplementary data, which it looks like there's some really cool pictures, like a video. Look at that squid boy. I wonder if I could play this. Hold on. I guess I can. Look at that. Let me know if this video is choppy, but look at this squid go, baby. Oh my gosh, I'm in love. Look at it go. I'm gonna try that again. Wow. That's incredible. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the video because I'm not even sure if you guys were able to see this, or I can't see the comments, so this all could look really crappy. So let me know if this section was good. Look at these. These look like giant isopods. These are mud bugs. If you ever see roly-polies, which are actually crustaceans or pill bugs that live in your yard, these are undersea versions of them. They get really huge, and they're very scary looking. But they look pretty similar to it. Look, there's a squid back there. It looks like they're eating that jelly. That's awesome. Oh, look at that squid. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Oh, a lot of videos. Once again, guys, let me know if this whole section was okay. Another volume. What is this? It's a long video. I'm gonna fast forward. Too long, didn't read. Hold on. What are we looking at here? Okay, I'm sure it's very fascinating, but here's some more pictures. This is the jelly. They keep talking about jelly. I don't know what jelly is, but I could read the paper. Look at this. I believe this is the platform they use for the camera. Yeah. There's a bait bag. There's jelly. That's awesome. So this teaches you how to build a camera to photograph giant squid. So you could read the schematic and do it yourself. Okay, and yeah, the last section, I'm sorry, there's another section called references. So in the references section, you cite all the other research papers, just like this one, that you used in your study. So all studies build on other previous studies. So as you can see, these are all different papers that they went ahead and cited. It's a lot. It goes on and on. Very cool. Okay, let me go back to reality. Okay. Okay, guys, I'm back. Okay, let me catch up on the comments, but some of them are saying, Metal Gaming says, squids are interesting, very clever. Okay. Okay, cool. Yes, we can see the squid videos. Very cool. I'm glad that worked. Cool, guys. That was a little experiment on my end. I mean, I just never did that. Let's see. Okay, so let's catch up on comments. So Metal Gaming says, I have 280 Steam games. Just now I'm on Sniper Elite 5 and Deep Rock Galactic. I play a lot of different. and I do like prog rock, metal, etc. Okay, can you recommend a good a good first time prog rock song? Look, this is what I like. I like electronic music. I like ambient music. I like 90s rock like Nirvana, Radiohead, REM, Dave Matthews Band. Okay. Okay, so here's some songs. So Metal Gaming likes Dream Theater, Pagan Mind, Elegy, and OFC, Iron Maiden, and Armory, etc., etc. I have a playlist on my YouTube. Okay, I'll check that out. I like history, UFOs, aliens, ghosts, and other things as Bigfoot stuff in the universe, and sea creatures, fish, etc. Cool. Well, you're in the right place, Metal Gaming. Okay. Thanks for the stream, by the way. You're welcome. Forgot to say, I also play Rocksmith games using a bass or guitar. It's very fun and a good. Okay, so a Rocksmith is a video game that's meant to teach you how to play guitar from scratch. You actually plug in your guitar to your video game console, a real guitar, not like a plastic toy guitar. I might get into that. I have so many hobbies. I don't need to do that. I need to finish my research papers. Okay. Rican Havoc is here. Yo, yo, yo. Hey, thank you for being here, Rican. Sure, appreciate it. Check out my episode, A Lifetime of Abductions with Rican Havoc. And Rican Havoc says, that's wild looking. And then people are just saying, yeah, the videos look good. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Melinda says, not sure if you said this before, but before you start a study, you need to see if your idea has already been done by others. Yeah. Not only that, look, I've had some static with some scientists. I had a project I wanted to do, so I reached out to another graduate student, and I told him, because he was working on similar things, and he went ahead and told me, like, hey, don't do this project because I'm doing this project, or I'm doing something similar, or I'm eventually going to do it. You know, there's so many animals. I didn't want to fight with them. I didn't want to argue with them. I was like, fine, no problem. I'll move on to something else. But that's a good point. If you're going to start a project, you should see. That's what usually before you start a project, you go to Google Scholar and you just read everything you can about it to make sure that it hasn't been done before. And you also want to maybe reach out to somebody to see if they're not working on it already. But yeah, I hope you guys like that. That was just a quick view of what's going on. But man, since we're at an hour and 17 minutes, I think let's just get into that ultra-terrestrial paper. Let's do it. So first, I want to thank Daniel Allen Jones. He's got some groups. He's got a YouTube page called The Vortex. If you look at my episode called Texas UFOs, that's Daniel Allen Jones. And he went ahead and gave me a lot of information about Texas UFOs, but all his links are in the description. And Daniel Allen Jones, he's the one that went ahead and told me, he posted about this ultra-terrestrial paper by Hal Puthoff. And so let's talk about this ultra-terrestrial paper. So let me give you a little introduction. So this ultra-terrestrial paper is a research paper that was published about intelligent things that may be living on the planet that we haven't discovered, like Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot would classify. Hal Puthoff is a PhD scientist that has been known to work in places like Skinwalker Ranch. He's been known to do paranormal research. Very interesting. So let's check out this research paper. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Let's see, share screen. Okay. Share. Here we go. Back. So, okay, here we go. Okay. So first, let me get credit because I found the article here. So the article is first mentioned here. So Daniel Allen Jones posted it on his Facebook, and the link he posted was this link. So this is a UFO website I'm somewhat familiar with called silvarecord.com. So in July 31st, 2022, the website posted this article. It says, Hal Puthoff's ultra-terrestrial paper finally released. Here's a picture of Dr. Hal Puthoff. I guess he also worked to the Academy of Arts and Science. If you see this little logo in the bottom right, I believe this company still exists. To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science is a for public benefit company started by the lead singer of Blink 182. What's my name again? What's my age again? What's my age again? That's one of their songs. The purpose of this company was to write and produce movies and books about the UFO phenomenon and research UFOs and let the public know about UFOs, but while working with research scientists and government officials. Okay, so it says right here that the paper was published in the Journal of Cosmology. Many in the UFO community have been asking to read this paper, and yeah, okay. So so they post a link, and here is the paper itself. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at it real fast. We know a little bit of what these papers are like. Okay, let me try to make sure. Okay, so this paper was published in the Journal of Cosmology. So all these research papers are published in a different journal. So this journal is called the Journal of Cosmology, volume 29, number 1. And the pages it's found is in the page 20,001 through 20,016. So it is about 16 pages long. The name of the paper is Ultraterrestrial Models. The author is only one, H.E. Puthoff, PhD. And his organization is the Institute for Advanced Studies at Austin. And his email is puthoff@aol.com. Maybe I'll ask him to be on the show. Okay, that's a cover letter. Okay, here's the first letter. It says where he works for the Institute of Advanced Studies at Austin. And there's the address. It's in Westlake Hills, Texas. Okay, so once again, here's the abstract. So let's read this because this is a summary of the paper. I'm not sure if we'll read the whole thing, but the summary should tell us basically what the conclusions are, and it should tell us everything we need to know, but just not in a lot of detail. Here we go. Okay. Under consideration in this paper are two seminal statements and their concomitants, currently known as follows. This happens a lot when you read a research paper. You'll start reading a research paper, it's very technical, you'll see a word, you don't know what it means. It's happened to me right now. So what I do is I stop and I look it up. So already I don't know what this word is. We're one sentence in and I am confused. Okay, so okay. Concomitant is a noun, a phenomenon that naturally accompanies or follows something. And as an example, it says, some of us look on pain and illness as concomitants of the stresses of living. Okay, well, that makes sense. So let's go back and see if we understand. Okay, so here we go. So what they're trying to say, let me translate. Under consideration in this paper are two seminal statements and their things that follow. Okay. So it's basically saying, like, here are two really important statements, and here's what the implications of those statements are. That's another way of saying it. Okay. Number one, there is an unidentified phenomenon interacting with the current human population on Earth. What a wild sentence. Oh my God, that's a really crazy sentence. I guess I agree with that. But I mean, there is an unidentified phenomenon interacting with the current human population. Okay. Number two, it is currently unknown whether the phenomenon is exclusively extraterrestrial from another planet, extra-dimensional from another dimension, cryptoterrestrial, which means it comes from Earth. Oh man, I think I was I might have been confusing ultraterrestrial with cryptoterrestrial. I'm already making a correction here, but let's find out. Hold on a second. I mean, he should address it in his paper, But man, I think ultraterrestrial might be interdimensional, and cryptoterrestrial may be that it's from Earth. Oh, I think I messed up already. Guys, I messed up. It happens to the best of us. Okay, so we're looking at what cryptoterrestrial mean. Okay, here we go. Wikipedia, cryptoterrestrial hypothesis. Okay, here we go. The cryptoterrestrial hypothesis was developed by this author who has since passed away. I've read some of his books. Tony's is his last name. And later, it was published posthumously. It proposes that extraterrestrial beings are actually mysterious and secretive races of earthly origin. These races have existed upon Earth for at least as long as humanity and present themselves as extraterrestrials or occult beings. Some have suggested this is an extension of the ideas of Richard Shaver. Okay, so I think I am incorrect. I kept talking about ultraterrestrials, but I was incorrectly saying that ultraterrestrials are cryptoterrestrials. So cryptoterrestrials are what I just said. They're from Earth. So now let's look up ultra. Sorry, guys, I led you astray, but I'm correcting myself. I'm self-correcting myself in the same video. So let's see. Yeah, I believe ultraterrestrial means interdimensional. But anyway, let's read the paper. So I'm already correcting myself. Okay. Let's go back to number 2. Okay. It is currently unknown whether the phenomenon is exclusively extraterrestrial from another planet, extra-dimensional from another dimension, cryptoterrestrial from Earth, demonic or jinn. Demonic indicates the Christian religion. Jinn is the Muslim religion. Proto-ancient human, or, like I said with Bigfoot, this is one of the ancient human races. Time travelers, or etc. Or some combination or mutation of any of all of these. However, it appears highly likely that the phenomenon per se is not constituted exclusively of members of the current human population. Fascinating. In this paper, we address the above under the overarching theme ultraterrestrials in order to develop a template to be matched against data at hand and that may be procured in the future. Okay. All right. Well, it didn't really give us a lot of results or anything, but interesting. We'll read the background because that was, I don't know, that was a little bit lacking for me. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to go back and see what you guys are saying. Okay, let me just check on everybody. Whoops. Okay. Well, there doesn't seem to be any comments, but let me know if you were able to understand everything with that ultraterrestrial paper. I just want to make sure everything's going fine. I don't want to waste anybody's time, but we still have people in the room, so I'm going to guess everything's going fine. So let's go back and read the first part of that paper. Once again, we're reading Hal Puthoff's ultraterrestrial paper that was recently published in a scientific journal. And we're going to read the background. Okay. Thank you, Melinda. Melinda says everything's good so far. Okay, so yeah, let's go back. Going back. Add to stream. Okay, go back to the paper. So once again, you guys can read this paper if you want. I will put the link to it after the stream. I have done all these beautiful links in the description, but they all got deleted. So I have to redo them. I didn't get too upset. I was like, whatever. It's not a big deal. I have food. I have health. I have a beautiful cat who's meowing right now. She wants something. I don't know what it is. I'm going to hold her like a baby to see if you guys can hear her meow. Okay, I'm holding the cat, and let's see if we can hear her meow. Okay. Background. As one takes a decades-long view of the unidentified phenomenon. Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know if you heard that, but I got a little notification. I guess you saw the notification. Sorry. Sorry. This thing I think is a virus. This is a virus. I don't like it. I thought I got rid of it. I downloaded a malware antivirus software, but it didn't detect it. So I have to do some more thing. I don't want somebody to steal all my information. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I hope that didn't hurt your ears. Okay. As one takes a decades-long view of the unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP or UFO topic, it is easy to become frustrated by what one seeks as a lack of robust progress. Yeah, I'm frustrated in establishing sure and certain ironclad data points, and even the most fundamental about the most fundamental of issues. Yes, brother, I agree. I'm frustrated because I can't get certain ironclad data points about even the most fundamental of issues. These issues prompt such key questions as bullet point 1, is the phenomenon predominantly nuts and bolts? In other words, is it made of matter? Is it physical? Or is it psychological in our minds or metaphysical? I don't know. I'm not really sure what metaphysical means. I mean, I have a vague idea. Assuming such distinctions can be made. Well, guys, I don't know what metaphysical means, so I'm going to put down the cats. I'm going to open a soda, and I'm going to look up the definition of metaphysical. Here we go. Okay, so here's a word I've seen, around, but I don't know what it means. Okay, what does metaphysical mean? Metaphysical is relating to metaphysics. Wow, thank you, dictionary. Okay. What is metaphysics? Metaphysics. What is metaphysics? Okay, metaphysics is it's a philosophy branch. I don't know that. Ugh. Okay. Metaphysics, the branch of philosophy that deals with the first principles of things, including abstract concepts such as the being, knowing, substance, cause, identity, time, and space. Here's an example. They would regard the question of the initial conditions for the universe as belonging in the realm of metaphysics or religion. Okay, abstract theory with no basis in reality. The very subject of milk pricing involves one in a wonderland of accounting practices and a metaphysics of its own. All right, guys, I'm still stumped, guys. I got to be honest with you. I don't know what that means. Let me know if you know what it means. Okay. Moving on. Bullet point number 2. Is the source of the phenomenon predominantly terrestrial? Ultraterrestrial. So here's a definition. Ancient occult group, isolated pre-diluvial high-tech society, stranded ET gods. Oh, okay. So it looks like ultraterrestrial is kind of similar to cryptoterrestrial. So ultraterrestrial means ancient occult group. Interesting. Isolated pre-diluvian high-tech society. Okay. Stranded ETs or gods. So these are stranded ETs that present themselves as gods. Or is it extraterrestrial, assuming that distinctions between these alternatives are meaningful? Let me take a sip of my drink. Okay. Has the phenomenon ramped up in our era? Or has it been essentially constant over millennia? Next bullet point. Are oftentimes related topics such as claimed abductions, crop circles, and animal mutilations truly related, or are they separate categories or a phenomenon? All right, these are all great questions. I like Hal Puthoff's writing style as well. Sometimes when you read these papers, you're just like, man, I cannot read this for the life of me. But he seems to be a good writer, writes easily, easy to read. And I'm really interested. I want to keep reading. Another bullet point. Are institutions such as governments truly that much more knowledgeable than we are, even if only in certain protected domains? Or are they essentially in the same position as we are, give or take some hard data in hand? That's a great question. I think we've discussed all these things. Okay. Let me make this a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. I'll just leave it there. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Number 2, critique. As we critiqued our positions vis-a-vis these issues, 3 factors stand out as weaknesses that potentially could be addressed by developing new strategies. The weaknesses are, number 1, data gathering is essentially passive. Typically, events are reported and data are gathered and analyzed. This constitutes essentially a reactive as opposed to proactive mode. Yeah, I understand what that is. This is not meant as a pejorative statement. Astrophysicists find themselves in the same situation. Even seemingly proactive movements, such as John Greenwald's FOIA government document search in the public arena, or attempted collection of the detritus of classified programs by some under special protected conditions, simply constitute efforts to cause the government to release data to passive, ever-hopeful recipients. The ball is still in someone else's court. Other more proactive measures could be taken, ranging from the relatively prosaic, setting up all-weather, all-sky, optical infrared monitoring stations, through the more tech-intensive approaches. E.g., I'm not sure what that means. That means, for example, I think, magnetic disturbance and RF radio frequency gigahertz detectors, multivariable monitoring suites, exoarchaeological investigations, to the arcane, search for evidence of anomalous manipulation of human genetic structure. Wow. And stretching to the esoteric, remote viewing, telepathic contact. Wow. Okay, nobody's going to say that Dr. Hal Puthoff has not been well read on the subject of UFOs. Okay, so I just want to point out some things. He said that the type of research we're doing is reactive as opposed to proactive. What does that mean? Well, if we look at that Squid research was proactive, okay? Somebody went out, they built a camera system with bait, with electronic jelly, whatever that is, with a camera. They took a boat out, they put it in the water. They were proactive. They took initiative. They were the heroes of their journey, and they got the data. What does reactive mean? Well, he's saying that when we study UFOs, we're reactive. We are reacting to what happens. A UFO comes, the UFO is being proactive. It's flying above us. We then take a photograph. We're being reactive. And so we're at a disadvantage. He mentions John Greenwald, who I believe has the YouTube group and the website called the Black Vault. So he goes ahead and takes advantage of this FOIA. I forget what that stands for. Oh, I'm sorry. His name is John Greenwald Jr. And yeah, he's got the Black Vault website. So he goes ahead and he takes advantage of this law where you could ask the government for documents. And he gets all these documents to try to find out about UFOs. Okay. So those are some things we do to get research. But then he also talks about how we could study all-weather, all-sky, optical, infrared monitoring stations. Infrared, that's something that Wreaking Havoc is doing with infrared cameras. You could buy your own infrared cameras. And then he says more tech-intensive approaches like magnetic disturbance and radio frequency gigahertz detectors, multivariable monitoring suites, and exoarchaeological investigations. That's interesting. Okay, those are just different tools, scientific tools to get information. Then he talks about other methods that are arcane, like looking for manipulation of the human genetic structure. So there's the idea out there that our genetic structure has been manipulated by a stronger race. I think if you look at the Anunnaki, which was a Sumerian and Anunnaki stories, they say that an ancient alien race came and they manipulated the DNA that was here in order to make humans as a slave race. I'm not sure if that's 100% correct. I'm not sure if I'm saying the story correctly, but he's basically saying, you could try to look for genetic manipulation. And he says all the way to the esoteric, like remote viewing, or telepathic contact. Remote viewing is, it was done by the government, by the CIA. This is apparently a method of, put simply, it's a method of meditation, so that you could see things like a Russian submarine or another country's like military base as examples without ever going there. So you could be anywhere in the world and you could see any other place. And a telepathic contact is, using your mind to communicate with, some of these alien races. Crazy. Okay, number 2. By and large, our models and hypotheses are relatively circumscribed. Another word. I've heard this word, but I don't know what it is. This show is also a vocabulary show, guys. Okay. Okay, circumscribed means restrict within limits. Okay, so let's go back to that sentence. By and large, our models and hypotheses are relatively restricted within limits. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. As stated in entry 2 above, although interested parties tend to be proponents of what would appear to be a wide range of hypotheses, ranging from it's all psychological, check your DSMV. That's meant as a joke, I think, but he's saying that some hypotheses or some skeptics are saying all this crazy stuff we talk about on the show, it's all psychological, and he's referring to this DSMV is, I believe, a diagnostic manual that psychologists and psychiatrists use to diagnose somebody. It lists all the different conditions like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or depression. Okay, through interdimensional time travelers and angels to graze in advanced spacecraft from Zeta Reticuli, there are additional options that, though mentioned in passing in the literature, are not taken very seriously and therefore go relatively unresearched. These include such categories as a hidden community of ETs or gods, possibly stranded here millennia ago a la Zechariah Sitchin's Earth Chronicles series, isolated remnants of pre-Diluvian high-tech society, or the Atlantis myth, or an ancient occult group who happens to stumble on new energy sources and control of gravity, and including a post-World War II covert cabal of the military-industrial complex variety, Dolan's breakaway civilization concepts. So Richard Dolan is originally a historian. He's got a channel called Richard Dolan, and he's got a website. And Richard Dolan was originally a historian, an academic historian, and he started studying history, and he found that the history and the documents of history show that the UFO reality is real. He believes primarily that UFOs are extraterrestrial. He believes there are different races. He believes some of the races are reptilian, praying mantis, gray. But he also believes in this breakaway civilization. That's another hypothesis. So what it is, it means that post-World War II, there was a small, secretive group of people within the military-industrial complex that developed like super technology, like faster than light technology. They could super energy technology, anti-gravity technology, and they're living secretly with all this technology. So it's a breakaway civilization. It is a group of humanity that decided to live in secret with their toys and their technology. Okay. Number 3, analysis and speculation, not forensics, constitutes the present core modus operandi. Analysis and speculation. This is true. He's saying that mostly what we do is analysis and speculation. Now, if you look at this episode, that's what we've been doing. This whole episode, when we're talking about Bigfoot, there's nothing wrong with it, but all we're doing is speculating and analyzing what we know. We're not doing forensics. Forensics is like hardcore research. It's like analyzing data, looking at things, physical objects with a microscope or running DNA tests. A lot of times all we do is just talk, speculate about things. Okay. As the various hypotheses are generated and pursued, hypothesis generation, that's what I've been doing all night, is generating hypotheses. The data are gathered. Considerable intellectual effort goes into attempting a fit between the two. Hypothesis testing. This is certainly a healthy activity. Yeah, just what I said. Yeah, it's fun. There's nothing wrong with it. Deriving as it does from the instinctive and productive human urge to reduce ambiguity in interpreting one's surroundings. However, there's that word, however. Honey, I love you. You're a great lover. However, however what? However what, Hal Puthoff? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, however, this approach could profit by incorporating elements of a more forensic gumshoe style. By gumshoe, he's talking about these detectives, like you got your magnifying glass, you're going to hit the streets. That's kind of what I said. I mean, forensic gumshoe style. That's why I said, like, I want to get somebody to mail me a Bigfoot hair so I can look at it under scanning electron microscope. I want to start gifting Bigfoot something, but leave a toy like a block with a bunch of tape on it so that he leaves his hair behind. That's a forensic gumshoe style investigation. As in criminalistic and intelligence work. The very fact that so many hypotheses remain on the table regarding the source of the phenomenon clearly indicates that forensic work to date has been inadequate to even eliminate certain hypotheses. Hypothesis elimination! Exclamation point. He's right. All three forms of hypothesis handling are required. He's right. Okay. I'm going to check, make sure everything's still good with the feed, and then we'll continue reading. So, guys, let me know if everything's good with the feed. Okay. Looks like it is, but let's read some of these comments. All right. So we have Brad here. Whoa. Brad is in the room from the excellent channel Creature Movie Reviews. Guys, on my last video, we talked about monster movies, UFO movies, Bigfoot movies, Jurassic Park movies. And Brad's a great speaker. So please subscribe to his channel, Creature Movie Reviews. So Brad says, good to know I'm not the only one who has to look up words while reading these papers. Yeah, dude. I do it all the time. Thank you for being here, Brad. Yes, look up words when reading books too. Sounds like the best way to learn. No harm there. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to learn vocabulary. Metal Gaming, I don't think necessarily aliens, UFOs have underground bases built in the seas. I do believe they submerge into the sea and do underwater research on life down there and how life evolves from waters. Okay. Yeah. Sounds very true. Then we have Melinda says, that's true. The only trick is to remember what the words mean after you look them up. Yeah, I got to remember them. Yeah, so e.g. does mean for example. So it's a Latin word meaning, it's a Latin word and it means exempli gratia. Just like I said, species names are in Latin because it's a dead language. Okay. Oh yeah, here she says, the other thing you see, i.e., which means that is from the Latin. Okay, so the way I can remember it, so if you guys ever read a paper and you see e.g. and i.e. abbreviated, you can remember that i.e. means that is because it starts with an I. No, wait, that doesn't work. Because it starts with an I and that is has an I in it. i.e. means that is because that is has an I in it. E.g. does not have an I in it. But e.g. to say, for example, I don't know. It makes sense in my head. And then, so yeah, i.e. means that is, and that is Latin for id est. Okay, and here we go. So Melinda is also clarifying that FOIA means Freedom of Information Act. Very true. Metal Gaming says, take a look at this undersea squid type of creature. I think in the end, it gets destroyed by the bio-western streams from the underwater vehicle thrusters. Oh, interesting. Okay. Take a look at this undersea squid type creature. I think in the end, it gets destroyed by the blow streams from the underwater vehicle thrusters. Oh, interesting. So you're saying that, yeah, that they could be damaged. That squid type creatures could be damaged by the thrusters. Interesting. Yeah, well, that does happen. I mean, whales, manatees, they get messed up by the thrusters of a boat. I know it's not the same, but let's just say human craft are dangerous. I mean, even cars run over, wild animals. So boats and submarines, they do hurt animals through the mechanics of them. 98% of human DNA does not code for anything. Wouldn't it be interesting if that part of our DNA is from an alien population, as you mentioned, with the Sumerians? Interesting. There's always, in genetics, I've always heard that a lot of our DNA is junk DNA. In other words, we don't know what it codes for. We don't know what its purpose is. But some scientists are like, well, maybe it is important. We just haven't realized what it is. Yeah, so there you go. She says it's called junk DNA. Okay. Then Melinda says, okay, Melinda has subscribed to Creature Movie Reviews. Great. I hope you're getting a lot of subscribers, Creature Movie Reviews, because you really deserve it. It's very entertaining. Thank you. Great. Okay, Metal Gaming says, look at the link. Oh, okay, so you provided a link. Interesting. Let me try to get that link up there. Sure, your show was great on Sunday. Sunday night is my PBS night, so I got to watch the recording. Yeah. No problem here. Okay, let me see. Let me try to find that link, okay? You know what? The link didn't come up, Metal Gaming. Try sending me the link again. Or if you can, okay, if it doesn't come up, try emailing me the link. If that's not too much trouble, my email is wild7trees@gmail.com. Try to email me that link and try to post it again here because it didn't come up. I'm looking real fast. Sometimes YouTube deletes links. It's weird. Okay, let's go back to the paper. But great comments, guys. Great comments. Okay. Back into the abyss. And back to the paper. Okay, number 3, strategy for forward motion. Great. Now we're going to talk about, what are we going from here? Given the tenor of the above remarks, the following recommendations are offered as proactive measures to make headway. Specifically, it would behoove us to set aside our tentativeness about any given hypothesis, place it on the table as almost certainly true, and go for it. I like that. With an aggressive forensic mindset. That's kind of what we're doing with this Bigfoot thing, My hypothesis is that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood animal. My hypothesis is that Bigfoot gives you gifts if you give him gifts. And my hypothesis is that we could get a body from Bigfoot if we try hard enough, or some hair from Bigfoot, or some fingerprints. And yeah, he's saying, go for it. Assume it's true and aggressively go for it. Consider the following disparate hypothetical examples of the type outlined in entry 2 in the abstract. Number 1, the extraterrestrial hypothesis. In this scenario, crash retrievals of nuts and bolts alien hardware have occurred. The detritus is like garbage or waste, of which has been distributed in the U.S. to corporate America. He's talking about the Colonel Corso scenario. Colonel Corso says that he wrote a book, which I heard his book, I think it was called After Roswell. I heard that it was edited in the American version, but the French version was not edited, all the juicy details. Anyway, he says that after Roswell, the crash in Roswell, all of that technology was separated into private companies. The government gave it to them. They didn't tell it where it came from, but they asked them to reverse engineer it. And that some of those results are, for example, fiber optics. Setting aside the specific claims of Colonel Corso, if such is the case, certain telltale signatures should emerge under scrutiny. Moreover, some evidence indicates that this could be the case. These would include a certain level of relatively low profile, possibly statement influence, integrated investment control of a select set of global multinational corporations with convergent interlocking technological developments, e.g., which means, let's see, For example, aerospace and electronics corporations. That's a really large sentence. I don't even want to break that down. I need to make some progress. That's a really dense sentence. Okay, number 2. If biological specimens have been retrieved, the development of unusual lines of biological/genetic inquiry by highly qualified professionals whose career path would seem to diverge suddenly from what might be extrapolated from their earlier work. For example, accelerated research into retroviruses. Interesting. Okay, so I think what he's saying in this one, this is biological, so I understand a little better. So he's saying if bodies of UFOs have been found, then the development of unusual lines of biological or genetic inquiry by highly qualified professionals. Okay, so I think what he's saying is that if you look at some experts in biology and genetics, some highly qualified professionals, their career path would maybe have diverged suddenly. So let's say they were studying the genetics of potato viruses or tobacco viruses or a crop virus, but they're experts at genetics. Well, then maybe suddenly they started researching something very different, like retroviruses. And he's saying this could be because they got some alien biological matter. What exactly is a retrovirus, guys? I know what a virus is. I think we all know what a virus is after 2020. But what is a retrovirus? A retrovirus is a type of virus that inserts a DNA copy into the RNA genome of its RNA genome into the DNA of a host cell that is invades, thus changing the genome of the cell. Interesting. Okay, I thought that's what a virus was. Melinda, is a retrovirus different than just a virus? I mean, I'm sure it is, but I'm not sure. Once again, I study invertebrates, not viruses or genetics. Okay, but that is what a retrovirus is. Okay, let's go back. Okay, next. Sudden initiation in the late 40s and early 50s without clear precedents, and it is known UFO-related research institutes, e.g. means, for example, Battelle, of concentrated development of new highly strength, high temperature, low density intermetallic alloys funded by nearby government facilities such as WPAFB. For example, nitinol. Interesting. Let's see. What is nitinol? I think nitinol is probably some kind of, it's one of these alloys he's talking about, but let's find out. Okay, so, nitinol I think stands for nickel titanium. Interesting. Is nickel titanium a product of UFO research? When was it developed? Okay, so nickel titanium. So nickel and titanium are both elements in the periodic table. So they are both types of atoms. And so this is an alloy. It's a mixture of both nickel and titanium, two elements who are present in roughly equal atomic percentages. Here's history. I just want to see when it was developed. Oh, here we go. So it was developed by William J. Buehler, along with Frederick Wang. They discovered its properties during research at the Naval Ordnance Laboratory in 1959. Okay, 1959. And then let's look up Roswell crash. Date. July 1947. Okay. So the idea, I think what Hal Puthoff is saying is that in 1947, we acquired crash from Roswell, and that then in 12 years, in 1959, nitinol was developed because of the study of UFOs. Wild stuff, guys. Wild stuff. Okay. The accelerated development of geopolitical alliances, space weaponry, etc., for reasons not wholly interpretable in terms of national interest agencies, like the U.S. Space Force or the SDI. Interesting. Okay. SDI. SDI. The Sonoran Desert Institute? Nah, that can't be it. Let's see. SDI government agency. Typing like a grandma, like a peepaw. Let's see. SDI. Oh, perhaps I think maybe it's Office of State Defense Integration. I'm guessing. Okay, that makes sense. Let's find out if this is correct. Okay. The mission of the SDI. So if this is correct, then this should be about UFOs. The Office of State Defense Integration, PMSDI, promotes and facilitates closer synchronization and coordination between the Department of State, DOS, Department of Defense, DOD, by managing several high-profile politically military programs and functions. Okay, very interesting. Now, when was this office formed? Okay. What was this formed? About Us. Wait, what's this? 1974. Congressional. Interesting. I mean, I'm gonna try one more time. I don't want to get stuck on this, but I'm just gonna try one more thing. Interesting. I'm trying to find the date. Let's try one more. I said one more thing earlier, but maybe one more thing. Okay. I just want to see where it says About Us. Maybe it says when it was formed. I don't see any dates here. Damn. Well, we'll have to get back to this. Interesting. Okay, guys. Okay. Evidence of covert manipulation of the UFO ET theme in the public sector by government entities. The CIA 1953 Robertson's panel. Evidence for covert manipulation of the theme in the public sector. This is interesting. Wreaking Havoc, when we did our video with Creature Movie Reviews, he asked a really good question. He was like, why do you guys think there's not a lot of movies about gray aliens? And there's really not a lot. There was like this one movie, it was a comedy with like Joe Rogan, who plays a gray alien. There was Communion, there was Fire in the Sky, but that's it. So why isn't there a lot of movies about gray aliens? So this is kind of, covert manipulation of the UFO theme in the public sector. Okay, evidence for generally sub-ROSA highly classified programs addressing the UAP issue. For example, as in the recent revealed OSAP or ATIP program. Interesting. What does sub-ROSA mean? I'm going to guess that sub-ROSA means like hidden or classified, highly classified programs. Just a guess. Just a guess. Sub-ROSA means happening or done in secret. I got it. I use context clues. Okay, so that's what sub-ROSA. Rose? I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, so he says... evidence for generally secretive, highly classified programs addressing UAPs like ATIP and OSAP. Interesting. ATIP and OSAP are associated with Lou Elizondo, a former CIA counterintelligence officer. I'm not sure if he's an officer. He worked for the CIA as counterintelligence. And then he was charged with his Pentagon program to study UFOs, and their abbreviations are OSAP and ATIM. Originally, they were also studying not only UFOs, but according to Lou Elizondo, they were originally studying all kinds of phenomenon from Skinwalker Ranch, which is in Utah. Look up Skinwalker Ranch for more information. Okay, here's another thing. Privatized access to space, for example, by enterprises such as SpaceX, Bigelow Aerospace, and Blue Origin, or threats to national and international security, for example, national state terrorism, might serve to stimulate the surfacing of certain technological developments, materials at an accelerated rate, and so on. Interesting. So he's saying that private access, private means like you and me. So we privately have access to space by SpaceX, by Blue Origin, which I believe Blue Origin is a company owned by the founder of Virgin Records. I forget his name. Interesting. Okay, number 2, the isolated humans hypothesis. An isolated, high-tech, closed community of humans with somewhat advanced scientific knowledge exists apart from known culture. Telltale signatures might include continuing observation of technology only somewhat in advance of public knowledge. For example, the 1897 airships. Fascinating. So if you guys don't know, in 1897, there was a rash, a wave of UFO sightings. But these UFO sightings, they actually look like ships in the air, like piloted by balloons. And people reported like other people would climb down from the airships in 1897, and they would be like, oh yeah, I'm just from another country and I'm just visiting, and yeah, we have this crazy spaceship. Interesting. So I think he's saying that those he's hypothesizing that those airships were actually real, and they were actually made by a group of people that had advanced technology, isolated humans they were isolated in high-tech closed communities. Fascinating. Okay, unaccounted for missing financial assets. I know there's a lot of missing financial assets in our government, and industrial grade resources, possibly including individuals, apparent covert misdirection of society in the absence of real evidence to accept the likelihood of the ET presence, the relative lack of evidence of extremely advanced sophisticated hardware. Oh, here's IE. Okay, so EG was for example, so that means that IE is, for example, let me see. Okay, I said, for example, for IE. Dang, Melinda, I forgot. Let me go back and see what you said. I'm so sorry, I forgot. My brain is so old. Okay, let's see. Don't worry. Okay, don't worry, Melinda. I got you. Okay, IE means that is. Okay, so IE, that is. EG, for example. Okay, IE, that is. My brain. My brain. Okay. IE is that is. Okay, so the relative lack of evidence of extremely advanced sophistication of hardware. That is hardware clearly beyond present-day design and manufacture, even conceptually. Let me read that again. So there's a lack of evidence of extremely advanced sophistication in hardware. Okay, so there's lack of evidence. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is true, but is he talking about how cars look basically the same? The internal combustion engine is almost exactly the same as what we've had since the Model T Ford. So there's a lack of evidence of extremely advanced sophistication in our hardware. That is hardware clearly beyond present day design and manufacture, even in concepts. Why don't we have flying cars? Okay. The stranded or colonizing ET or gods hypothesis. Telltale signatures might include evidence in myths from high-tech interpretation of claimed devices beyond human capacity of the era to manufacturer. E.g., for example, nuclear-powered algae production manna machine in biblical times. Interesting. Hard evidence for isolated mountain bases detectable by satellite signatures of fast walker or UCT, uncorrelated target flight paths, or anomalous undersea activity or bases detectable by distributed underwater monitoring systems. Okay, I gotta tell you a story. So one time I was working at a hotel, and because I was doing some kind of technical work, and because of that I had to go in all these hotel rooms. So I went into this hotel room, and the guy in there was working for the military base. So there was a military base in that city. And so like everybody, I asked him about what he thought about UFOs. Did you ever seen anything weird? Basically, he told me that when he was younger, he was working for the military. He was in a submarine, and for several days they tracked a large, fast-moving object that couldn't move. It was too fast to be an animal, and it was consistent for days. They were tracking it and following it, and they had no idea what it was. This is what he's talking about. Anomalous undersea activity. Yeah. By the way, that guy also told me that his mother told him that she was in contact with UFOs and she spoke with UFOs. But he said he never got any proof of it and that he really didn't know what to make of it. But he didn't think she was lying. Weird, right? Covert elite groups exercising occult religious influence in our society. Illuminati. Evidence for buried high-tech artifacts or locales with unusual signature radiation characteristics here or off-planet, etc. Okay, let's see. Let me check on the comments. We're on page 8, so we're halfway done with this paper, although one of the pages was just a cover letter. Let's see how, yeah. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 8 papers left. 8 pages left. That's not that much. Do you guys think I should continue, or should I stop here and we'll continue this paper on the next episode on Sunday? What do you guys think? Let me check in with everybody. Okay. We've been on for 2 hours and 11 minutes. Okay, Metal Gaming says, did I get the link in my email? I'll check right now. Let me catch up on comments, and then I will check my email. I have it right. I have my email right here. Mr. Catfish is here. Hi, Mr. Catfish. He says, how we doing? We're doing good. I think we're having a really good conversation. Okay, Melinda says, retroviruses uses RNA instead of DNA to copy. Okay. I do know that HIV is an example of a retrovirus. Interesting. Man, one time I received a weird message on my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group. It's called Deep Wild Tech, if you want to follow it. It's like facebook.com/Deep Wild Tech, one word. And I have another Facebook group called facebook.com/the.moss.piglet. Anyway, in one of those groups, the Deep Wild Tech group, this guy messaged me, and he was talking about some weird topics. But he was talking about mad cow disease, which is a virus. No, it's not a virus. It's a what is it called? What is the name of mad cow disease? It's a prion disease. Cows get it from eating cow brains. So people would feed cows other cows, and then cows would eat cow brains. Sounds like a zombie. And they would get something called a prion disease, called mad cow disease. And then if humans ate the meat of the cow, they would also get mad cow disease. Anyway, he was talking about mad cow disease, but he mentioned something about viruses. But he was telling me about the idea that a virus could be used for good. He was telling me about the idea that a virus could change our DNA, but change it for the better. I don't know. Just made me think about that. Okay. And yeah, Melinda already knew what Sub Rosa, done in secret. Very good. And then, okay, yeah. So Virgin Airlines, yeah, Richard Branson's the guy who has privatized space travel. Okay. Chill with Cat. Very good. Melinda says, see, you got to remember these things after you look them up, learn them. Yeah. And how we look words up, we don't know. It's hard to remember them. Okay, look, I have a pen right here. Hold on a second. Let me get my pen, and I'm going to write it down. That's the only way. If you guys need to memorize something, I used to do this trick in college. So one time I had a test, I had to study for it. So all I did is I literally, on a piece of paper, basically like Jack Torrance in The Shining, I just hand wrote all of my notes over and over again, and I memorized them. So here's a little trick. If you need to memorize something, a cheat is just to handwrite it over and over and over again. So I'm going to do that right now. Stop my camera. Here's a picture of a pink rose from my parents' garden. Well, my parents planted the rose bush so that people would not climb through the window. But it does produce beautiful roses. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to write it down here. So I have a Sharpie, and I have my notes here. So I-E-E-G. Okay, so E-G is, for example, I think, let me check my notes. I'm giving it a college try, Melinda. I really am. Scrolling up. Okay. EG means, for example. Okay. EG. Oh, I was right. Okay. For example, IE means that is. It's written. It is written. Thank you, Melinda. Okay. Melinda says, that is a very interesting paper. It is really good so far. It's interesting. Keep going. Okay. Nina says, continue in your next program. Oh, we have one person says continue. One person says keep going. We need some tiebreakers, guys. Prion causes proteins to fold differently so that you could see how that might alter us. Mm-hmm. And I wrote index cards in college for tests. Got all A's except organic chemistry. It's the best way to learn. Write it down over and over again. Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's get one more vote. Should I continue, or should I leave it for later? But for right now, I'll read one more page, and then we'll add up all the votes. So, guys, go ahead and vote. Should I read the whole paper tonight, or should I continue tomorrow? We have one vote. Says Nina. Oh, hi, Nina. By the way, thank you for being here, Nina. And then Brad says, continue going. I'm going to read one more page, and then we'll tally up the votes. Let's go back into the abyss. Honestly, the only thing that's keeping me from reading it is hunger. I really need to eat before these streams. If you notice, some of my streams, I'm talking about food all the time. Okay. So, yeah, let's finish this paper, and then we'll count out the votes. Okay. Okay, so we are we're actually on page 9. Oh, we're closer than I thought to finishing. Okay. So we only have 7 pages left. Okay. I think so. Let me see. 9. Yeah. Okay. Number 4, the interdimensional or time traveler hypothesis. Basically, what I've been reading is Hal Puthoff is like, hey, guys, be aggressive with your research. All we're doing is we're hemming and hawing. We're just, hey, we're a bunch of stoners. There's nothing wrong with this, by the way. We're just a bunch of stoners like, hey, what about this? What about that? He says, that's good. He said, that's healthy. But he says, why don't you just get one of these hypotheses, believe it's true, and just, put the pedal to the metal and start doing hard research, gumshoe research, start analyzing stuff. And what he's doing here is he's telling us how we could do that. So he's listing hypotheses, and he's telling us how we might get some of this information to see if these are real. So now he's talking about this interdimensional. So he's going to tell us how, if we are being visited by interdimensional beings or time travelers, what would be the evidence? What can we look for? So let me drink something, and then we'll continue reading. Okay. Gaining access to our space-time continuum. Telltale signs might take the form of Fortean phenomenon or instant appearances or disappearances of beings. Okay, Bigfoot is said to appear and disappear instantly. Shadow people are said to do this. alien greys, UFO occupants. In a reverse process, humans experience portal access, to alternate realities. The appearance of beings out of sync. Oh. The appearance of beings out of sync in dress, mannerisms, or language, or technology, similarly indecipherable. This is fascinating. Okay. So he's like, okay, an example. Why might we have time travelers? Why might we have interdimensional beings? He says, well, one of the reasons is because we might see beings, creatures, or people out of sync, means they don't match up with us in the form of dress. This would be like the Men in Black, who have these suits. They look like they dress from an older time, or people that dress in like older or weird clothing. Mannerisms, the way you act, the way you walk, the way you shake hands, little human behaviors. Or language. So language is interesting. I had a paranormal experience. I was in a big thicket. I was in a research station. I stayed there. It was in 2017. I stayed in this large house in the middle of the woods that was owned by the United States government. I stayed there as a scientist by myself, middle of the woods, in a biological preserve, also a paranormal hotspot. I stayed there for all the month of December and part of January. I remember Christmas Day, I was by myself. I was in the woods. One of the best Christmases of my life. New Year's Day, I was by myself. I was in the woods. One of the best New Year's days of my life. But I was incredibly scared at night because it was so cold. It was kind of funny. The thermostat had a lock and key that only the government could open. And so it was always cold in that house. And it was lonely. The only other living thing in that house was this roach that lived in the bathroom. It was not an ugly roach. I think it was a native roach. It wasn't a German cockroach. And I believe it was just, taking refuge from the cold. I was so happy to see that roach. I was like, it's you and me, roach. There's no one else in this house. We and you are the only two living things. I would try to feed it. I would make smoothies in the morning. So I would try to feed it chunks of frozen smoothies. I don't think it ever ate it. And, it would go away. It would do its business. I would see it in the bathroom. I would take a shower. And I was very lonely. And I was very scared at night. And, if you go to the front porch, you would look up at the sky from my front porch, and I could see all the stars. Anyway, I was at night. In the day, I had so much fun. Best time of my life. I was with another researcher there who lived somewhere else. And she was studying clams. And I was studying beetles. And we would just have fun. And we would talk about UFOs and, anyway, scary stuff. At night, I was terrified. I had trouble sleeping, and I was scared. One of these nights, I received a phone call, and I believe it was from two non-humans. Their voice was very strange. It did not sound like a human voice. It did not sound like a man's voice. It did not sound like a woman's voice. It did not sound like a foreign language. So what I'm saying is their language was out of sync. Anyway, they started laughing at me. I got scared. I yelled at them, and they hung up on me. But I wish I could go back, and I wish I could have been friends with them. I wish I could have invited them over. If I could do it again, I would have been like, hey guys, I'm so glad you called me. I feel honored. Come over. I got some beers. I got some smoothies. There's a roach here. Not the kind you smoke. There's a literal roach here. Let's have some fun. The other thing, if I'm going to assume that according to this, they were not extraterrestrials. They're interdimensional beings. But if I'm assuming they're interdimensional beings, I believe they were observing me. I had been in the research station for a while. A UFO had been spotted in that area while I was there. I believe they were observing me. They must have saw me. It's kind of creepy. They were looking at me while I was, collecting beetles, and they decided to call me. It's just like that bird, that great blue heron. There's a great blue heron that follows me around when I go walk, and he follows me to my house. And he's a great flyer. And so a lot of times when I'm walking, I just assume I'm being watched. What am I from Wisconsin? Washed. I assume I'm being watched by this bird. There's eyes in the sky, and I don't mind. Anyway, that's a little tangent. But anyway, technology similarly indecipherable. Financial transaction timeline or other futures-oriented activity indicative of advanced foreknowledge. Okay, so he's saying that, yeah, people are making financial moves Interesting. Interesting. What if I'm thinking about the lottery? I'm thinking about Back to the Future 2 and Biff Tannen with his sports almanac. I don't know. I'm just thinking, what if some of these interdimensional time travelers are winning the lottery, or they're in cahoots with lottery winners? I don't know. That seems even far-fetched for me. But he's saying, yeah, financial transactions or futures-oriented activity. I believe he's talking about stocks, bonds, indicative of advanced foreknowledge. So he's like, people or organizations making a lot of money, and it indicates that they knew what happens in the future. Okay. Evidence for teleportation of individuals or materials over geographical distances, appearance of humanoids in conformance with predictive genetic evolution of present-day Homo sapiens, etc. This last one is tricky. Appearance of humanoids. So he says humanoids, so I don't think he's talking about humans. He's talking about human-like things in conformance with predictive genetic evolution. Oh, okay, I think I know what he's saying. So he's saying that, I think he's talking about the Greys here. He's saying that humanoids, like Greys, they look like what we're assuming genetically evolutionarily will happen to us in the future. So he's saying that in the future, we probably won't need a lot of muscles. We probably won't need to talk. Our brains would be bigger. So that's what the Greys are, if I'm reading that correctly. Okay. Obviously, in the above examples, we have a helter-skelter montage of elements from much of the mythology of claimed UFO experiences. Where I consider we need to go with it is this: to shift away from a strategy that relies solely on further content analysis toward what the intelligence world calls traffic analysis. That is to first order independent of content. Okay. That is, while not eschewing the present strategies in place, we incorporate into our studies in an aggressive and proactive way, as we can muster, more forensic work to expand our playing field and extract from the data and its surrounds more. Is this a typo or am I cross-eyed? More, reading right here, more forensic work to expand our playing field and extract from the data and its surrounds more of the patterns. I think he means its surroundings. I have typos in my research papers. It's no big deal, and maybe it's not a typo. But anyway, let's just. I'm gonna assume he means surroundings. So let me read that statement and replace this word with surroundings. More forensic work to expand our playing field and extract from the data and its surroundings more of the patterns and networks that appear to yoke the data together, rather than just attending the data itself. Okay, interesting. So I think what he's saying is like, look, let's think big picture. Let's not just look at the reports. Let's not just look at the hair of Bigfoot. Let's not just look at, I don't know, etc. Let's look at stuff around it. What's the bigger picture? Let's expand our scope to try to find patterns, which makes sense to me. I like it. Okay, let's. So yeah, that concludes this page. I mean, there's a little more, but I'm going to go count the votes, and see what we think. All right, guys. Okay, let's catch up on comments. Yeah, I think most people are saying continue for the next one. Okay, that's what Nina says. Creature Movie says, yeah, better get something to eat and actually get some sleep. Yeah. Here's one. Author is saying that we were talking about a few shows ago that you did. So so much talk about this and that with UFOs, etc. We need the scientific approach. Perfect paper as a reference for a research project. Yeah. Did you name the cockroach Wilson, the castaway with Tom Hanks? No, I don't even think I gave him a name. Poor guy. He was beautiful. I think he was like a light color. maybe Warren Buffett is in cahoots. Fascinating. Okay, guys. Well, yeah, the votes say we should continue, so we're about halfway done with that paper. We will continue. I know there's a lag here, so I will continue this discussion on Sunday. Although, actually, on Sunday, we're going to be reviewing the new Predator movie called Prey with Bobby Dizzle. Bobby Dizzle podcast. Search for it. Subscribe. Bobby Dizzle. It will be his birthday. Everybody wish Bobby happy birthday on Sunday. We'll be talking about the new Predator movie, an alien movie called Prey. It's on Hulu. If you want to watch it before it comes out August 5th, if you want to watch it, you could sign up for a free trial of Hulu, and you could watch this movie. It's supposed to be good, about an alien. Instead of Predator, it's called Prey. The Predator movies include Predator, Predator 2, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, Predators, The Predator, and now Prey. It's supposed to be good. It takes place in Native American times. The main person is a Native American woman and her dog. Should be good, but maybe we'll continue the paper and also review the. Maybe that'd be good because it's an alien movie, so we could review and finish the paper. But yeah, so that's what's going to happen on Sunday. We're going to be reviewing a movie, continuing this paper, and Bobby Dizzle will be here, and Bobby Dizzle will be his birthday, very graciously sharing his time with me. I may have been the cockroach's best roommate ever. I think I was, although I should have given him I should have given him something cockroaches like. I know they like junk food. I was trying to be healthy that summer or that winter, so I was eating smoothies. I should have given him something bad. I hope he's okay. I hope he had a lot of kids. Great show. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Yeah, it was a great show. I had a lot of fun. You guys are really great. Let me just do shout outs real fast. Everybody, thank you, Nina. Thank you, Mr. Catfish. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Brad from Creature Movie Reviews. Subscribe to Creature Movie Reviews on YouTube. Thank you, Ayo Walks. The people I know that watch this later on, thank you. Welcome to the show for the idea for this episode. Thank you, Lee Bodge, if you're watching. John P. Adventures, thank you. Anon, thank you for watching. And I think that's everybody. Oh, Metal Gaming, thank you for being here as well. Thank you. Oh, yeah, the video. Let me do the video. Thank you for reminding me. As you can see, my mind is off. So I'm going to show this video real fast. You guys don't have to stay if you don't want to watch, but we're going to see a Squid video, guys. So I'm going to check my email. Thank you, Metal Gaming. Okay. So, okay, here we go. Squid video. Okay. Thank you, Metal Gaming. Okay, I'm pulling it up right now. It's on YouTube. Okay, guys. If you guys have to go, I understand. We're going to watch a real quick video about Squid. Oh, yeah, this is a great video. I've seen this before. Okay, so this video is very cool, actually. This video is the craziest squid I've ever seen in my life. It's an unknown organism. It's a squid from the Indian Ocean. It's a cephalopod. I'm not sure if it's a squid. But the way it moves and acts, it's like a UFO. It's wild. But yeah, let me go ahead and show that video. If you guys got to go, no problem. You always come back and watch this crazy squid video. But it is a good squid video. Thank you for the link, Metal Gaming. Okay, so yeah, I'm pulling it up right now, guys. So some context. This is a really good video. The reason why it's high quality, it's a deep sea video. I believe it was shot by an oil company. So the reason why there's such good cameras here is because this oil company has these cameras deep sea to monitor their equipment, not to catch really cool squid. But they got lucky and they were able to shoot this amazing squid video. But I'm sure their camera is very expensive. It's probably out of the reach of most of us. Maybe Warren Buffett can do it, but not us. Okay, and I'll put the link to this in the description so you guys can watch it later. Okay. Okay, I'm pulling it up, guys. Okay, sorry about that. unknown organism, the Indian Ocean, underwater. Okay. All right, guys. Give me a little bit. Okay, I got the video up. Okay, let me just make sure the quality is high. It's about 1:18. So, turn off the volume. It's about 1:18. So, oh yeah, quality. Let me bump it up to HD. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. Here we go. You guys can look it up yourself if you want. Very cool. Cool. Yeah, it's crazy. Everybody's just talking about how crazy it looks. Yeah, that's a great way to end. So yeah, okay, guys. See you guys next Sunday. Thank you so much. Take care. I'm so happy to have you guys here. And I hope you have a good rest of your week. Goodbye.